was just a name I fished out of my butt.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
Focus
like-
on the
Go for it.
We're good? Sweet. Hello everybody, welcome back to the world of cinematics. I will be your host today. And today we are talking about Marvel Mania. So we've been doing a lot of Marvel watching recently in our spare time when we're not at work or doing homework. We've been watching Daredevil with Robert. It's his first time. So we're trying to be gentle. And we've also watched Moon Knight. And
I'm sensitive.
Robert is a very sensitive man. Don't say things to insult him; he'll hurt you. And we've also watched Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I wanted to recap with Moon Knight, though, you guys, because we haven't talked about the last two episodes, not just the finale. And I really wanted to talk about that second to last episode, because that's when I realized, okay, this is pretty good, even though it's not what I thought it was initially. The way it went in that episode. Jed, could you give us a recap of that episode there?
Yeah, it was kind of like the second to last episode of WandaVision, where it's not a recap in the sense of where we've been so far, but a recap in like, here's some of the stuff that happened before this series, so we can know why our characters are the way they are. I liked that episode in WandaVision. In Moon Knight, it may be my favorite episode of any Marvel television show ever, at least of the Disney Plus ones. It was incredible. Watching the episode, something that Aaron had mentioned in previous weeks was his wondering, okay, why does this have to be a TV show? Why couldn't this have been a movie? Watching this episode, I finally said, okay, it was the right decision for this to be a TV show. I was thinking about how I think the best performances we've had in Marvel movies or TV shows have been Elizabeth Olsen in WandaVision and I'm blanking on his name. Oscar Isaac in Moon Knight. If he doesn't get an Emmy nomination, this will be an absolute crime. And I'm usually somebody who's like, hey, somebody did really good. It doesn't mean they're actually going to get a nomination. Like, I thought that, for example, Mark Hamill, incredible at The Last Jedi. Think what you will about the writing, his performance, amazing. Doesn't mean I think he was robbed of an Oscar nomination. If Oscar Isaac doesn't get this, he's going to be robbed of an Emmy nomination. All the different levels and layers, all the pain and trauma in two characters, all the anger, the desperateness, the pain, all of it was wonderful, is incredible. Mm-hmm. This extra time spending with the characters has been able to draw out the best performances in Marvel, in my opinion. And so yeah, I loved that second to last episode. I also liked the finale. It's fine. It was good. I liked it, but man, that second to last episode was something else.
Yeah, though the finale does have that sort of third act, big CGI battle fest. Mm-hmm. I actually enjoyed it this time.
Yeah, it's still good for what it is.
I didn't like the Shang-Chi movie. We haven't really talked about that one. Well, I haven't been here if you guys talked about it.
Made Roberts and I the top 10 movies of the year.
Oh.
But it was on the lower end, but we both really liked it.
Definitely didn't love that one. I don't even remember a lot of it. I remember it was funny-ish, but the third act, I'm kind of getting sick of the third act Marvel thing. Big CGI battle fest, but Moon Knight did it well. It was at nighttime, so maybe the CGI was holding up better. I like the character designs of I forget the god's name, but...
Amit?
Yeah, Amit and Khonshu. Yeah, I liked her dreads or whatever on the alligator. I thought that was funny. Mm. And just the over the top, how she was eating the souls and growing larger at the same time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's really kind of cheesy, but I feel like that's kind of what comics are, especially ones like this that are based after, legends and fake gods and stuff.
But the show hadn't really been cheesy up to this point. I'm totally fine with cheesy stuff.
It's still...
We're going to talk about Doctor Strange, and oh my gosh, there were some cheesy moments.
Oh my gosh.
But this whole movie throughout was kind of maintaining the same tone. Whereas I feel the finale of Moon Knight was a different tone than the rest of the show.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah. But at least there was still there's still blood and stuff, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it. I don't know why. It didn't bother me as much this time. I just thought it just landed well. Mm-hmm. And second to last episode, I did like the flashback scenes. I was like, oh, kind of with the WandaVision thing, when you brought that up, I was like, we already know her backstory because she brought it up in other media's like Age of Ultron.
But it's something else to see it.
Yeah, it was cool to see it.
Yeah.
But to me, I was just like, oh, I already know this. It's cool to see it. I already knew it was traumatizing. Yeah. But to see his, I had no idea. I don't even know if it's comic accurate, but to see his backstory is very cool. Mm-hmm. Very sad and very different from other superheroes. It wasn't just that his parents got blown up by a Stark Tech missile or whatever. It's that he accidentally got his brother killed. It wasn't really his fault, but to him it was his fault his whole life.
Not to him, to his parents.
Or to his mother specifically. To his mom. And so he believed that. Mm-hmm. And that's why he had to bring on another personality.
Yeah, it's very realistic depiction of dissociative identity disorder. How, because of trauma, usually how these personalities are created, because of trauma, the human mind will create someone else to either, for lack of a better phrase, be the punching bag, or be this extra one who will give extra support, all these different things. And you see how, Stephen, even though he maybe isn't the most bold or confident person, he is brave. He is someone who is going to be meek, but he's never going to back down from the punishment he's taking, which is what Mark needed in that moment.
Yeah, no,
it's really sad.
I always had respect for Stephen, because even when he was surrounded by all the bad guys, and they would say, "Yeah, we're gonna do this even to kids," he called them out on it.
Yeah,
and I was like, I hate it when Stephen takes over the body and he tries to fight because it's lame. But I always respected Stephen because he was always willing. We're getting some more light. He was always willing to stand up for what was right.
For me, going back to what Jess said about the Emmy, there's a moment where okay, this is where the actor got his Emmy-winning moment.
Yep, that's going to be in his for your consideration reel.
Right, and for Peter Dinklage, is that wonderful speech he gives in Game of Thrones where he basically says, "I didn't kill Joffrey,
but I wish that I had."
So for me, the moment that I really, really felt something besides just the sadness of watching a young boy being abused by his mother, and the way he coped with that is just very sad to see. Was the moment where he goes to her funeral. He can't go in. He's drinking, and then he just starts sobbing. And I was like, oh my goodness, this feels very real. And where he goes on his knees, and he takes his yarmulke off his head because he's Jewish, and he's breaking down, and he has to go into have Stephen come in and take over from there. But it's just, I think that moment for me is his Emmy moment, because it's like just watching a man as hard as Mark just breaking down. And it's also refreshing because whenever a superhero is explicitly religious, I really enjoy that, because it to a lot of people it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, you got Thor, you got all these Egyptian gods. Why would you still be religious? Why would you still have devotion to God? And in the case of Moon Knight and Daredevil specifically, both of them I think have devotion to God despite these things, because they realize that the world will always change, but the principles that they believe in, their standards don't change. And I think Stephen specifically might abide by that a little bit better than Mark. Stephen, at one point, he has the Star of David on his neck, and Daredevil wears a cross on occasion, and he's openly religious. And so those were two, just something else that I appreciated from the performances, just an acknowledgement of religion, but also showing that a religious person can suffer, a religious person can go through these sad things and difficult things, and maybe even question their devotion to God. They don't explicitly say that, but him sort of shaking his fist and weeping is like, oh my goodness, this is what every religious person goes through at 1 point or 20 points or 1,000,000 points or another. So I really enjoyed that. As far as the finale goes, just the shot in the trailer where it's kind of a cool shot how they take the pyramid and shift it over. But just Haro with his hair blowing in the wind, this 50-year-old man hopping in regular clothes, hopping towards Moon Knight, who looks fairly cool because he's a superhero, dressed like a superhero.
Yeah.
Just them
fighting with his magic
them
cane.
doing this, I was like, what is this? Is this Scott Pilgrim versus the World or something?
It was a little silly.
So,
although I will say,
face, though.
the scene where Ethan Hawke brings back Amit, and he's told, oh yeah, you know how you're judging all these people, not just off of their lives, but the things they're going to do, and saying they're not worthy? Yeah, you're not worthy. And just that look of horror on his face, but also, this is what I want. I don't regret what I've done. I submit myself. I accept the punishment.
Yeah.
And, like this zealousness, it was really scary, really sad. It was a great performance. I think it was my favorite scene of his in the whole show.
Yeah, I liked his scenes where he's a doctor or whatever. That was really cool. And I was thinking about that too. That was, I think, that like build up where he goes to the afterlife, and that's kind of cheesy because he's talking to Hippo and stuff, and they're on a boat that's going through the sand. It's just like that's not grounded anymore. So I think that's kind of what built me up to
that's fair.
The freaking Godzilla versus a big skeleton bird.
Yeah.
The fight at the end.
Maybe I was a little more okay with that because that is ripped straight out of Egyptian mythology. But if you don't know that, it is very absurd.
Yeah. And, well, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about Shang-Chi. But anyways.
we don't talk about Shang-Chi.
I'm sure it follows some mythology too, but whatever. Yeah. I like the show. I'm more interested in, like, why did he need this third personality to pop out? Because we know now why Steven popped out, but now we know there's a third one, Jacob.
I have a theory about that.
Okay, what is it? I'm like, why would he need that?
In the 5th episode, we hear explicit statement that he was kicked out of the military. He was I don't remember if they said it was honorably or dishonorably, but he was discharged because he went AWOL during a fugue state. We also know that Steven, while he had been a thing in his childhood, had not re-entered his life yet. So I think something traumatic happened in the military. Like there was some sort of line that Mark would not cross, but this other one can.
But he needed to do it.
Exactly.
Probably like something that
maybe
hey,
on
you need to go.
The orders of Bushman, his CO, something like that.
Right. Like, hey, you need to go wipe out this village.
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And he goes crazy again. Then he's like, si, senor. And he goes and
Well, little we know about Jake, he is someone who will follow orders no matter how evil they are.
Yeah.
And he might even take some pleasure out of it.
Yes.
Unlike the other two. Like Mark, he's good at what he does. He doesn't like to do it though.
But he's resigned with it. Like, this is who I am, and I have to accept it even though I hate it.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts on Moon Knight?
Speaking of Jake Lockley, we totally called it. While I didn't love the finale, the post-credit scene with him in it was great.
Yeah. It kind of tied up loose ends.
Oh, yeah.
Nicely, so.
Because, go on.
I was just going to say, I'll be happy to see, even if he doesn't get another show, if they continue to cameo the character. I know Oscar Isaac's in his 40s, so he can't do this forever, and he has a limited window. But if he's in a Blade movie or a Black Knight movie...
Yeah, because we know they're working towards a Blade movie with the Black Knight, so if they do, what is it called, Midnight Suns, I think it is, where you have a bunch of the darker, more violent Marvel characters in a comic together, I'd be down for a Midnight Suns movie.
They're kind of the gothic...
Yeah.
They
Get
deal
Wolverine
with
in there, too.
They deal with, like, vampires and zombies and things like that. So, and going into transition to Doctor Strange, if that's okay with you guys, I feel like Doctor Strange and Moon Knight are kind of transitioning to that side of Marvel, where it's like, okay, well, now we can have zombies, now we can have vampires, now we can have ghosts and things like that. The supernatural side of Marvel.
Yeah, which was always established as being there, but it's not like we're going to explore it. But now we get a chance to.
Now we're dipping our toe in it a little bit.
Actually, before we move on to Doctor Strange, Robert, what did you think of Moon Knight?
I like it.
That's it?
I mean, I got a few other thoughts on it, but you guys pretty much covered most of it. I do appreciate the fact that they did the bigger stuff, like the bigger CGI stuff in the dark, because it really does hide like any mistakes, and it makes it easier for visual effects because they're on a TV budget. I know it's Marvel, but still,
it's still limited.
It looks pretty dang good.
Budget.
Like if you have $200 million for a 2-hour movie or $200 million for like a 5-hour show, it's gonna stretch a little thin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and like it's funny because you can kind of see like, oh, this is where all their budget went. But I would say, honestly, side note, my favorite special effect would be the sky turning.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
It's simple but really cool.
Yeah, probably not the hardest effect.
Probably just did it in the volume.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's just the way they were able to capture it. It was so cool.
And and the way they shot it, like from beneath them, so you were like watching it from like their point of view, kind of. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, and personally, I think it is cooler than the big boss fight, but but I appreciated them finally bringing Jake out because I was thinking to myself, he's in that coffin. Who's in that coffin? I want to know who's in the coffin. And now we know. And I like Stefan, really would love to see more of Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, but I understand he is getting older, and there's other movies out there instead of getting captured in the Marvel franchise.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to do all his stunts. That's kind of my thing.
Put a stuntman in a motion capture suit.
Well, yeah. Well, the other thing though is that whole contract with Marvel.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Because how many guys have been caught up in Marvel for years now?
Right.
And it's hard for them to go off and do other stuff because everyone's like, "You're a Moon Knight."
If I understand it correctly, his contract was just for this one season, but he has expressed how he had a lot of fun doing this and would be open to exploring Moon Knight, the character, and other things down the line. But it's very much, it's in my court. I get to dictate if I come back or not.
I mean, I gotta say, that the way he played this character, for me, it was the most entertaining hero out of the MCU, because everyone's pretty well straightforward.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, Black Widow, she has a bad past. But Moon Knight has multiple personalities. There's like different stories with each personality. So for me, he's a more, I guess, 3-dimensional character.
There's more to explore.
Yeah. No joke in the 3-dimensional. No, we'll take all the joke in the 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
But I guess it'd be 4D if you count Conchu. Yeah. It sounds like a Pokemon. Just throwing that out there. But otherwise, Moon Knight, I really liked it. It's definitely my favorite Marvel show so far. And it was actually one I looked forward to every week.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yep.
No.
Back to my headphones.
I had one question. Why the heck were there monsters at the beginning of the show? and not at the end. Like he killed like a werewolf man at one point or something.
Right, like a jackal demon.
Yeah, I was confused why they were even there and why did they have monsters at the beginning of the show?
Well, in all fairness, it was just the one monster, but
didn't he kill one in the very first episode and then another in the
he
second
killed one.
Yeah. But I think it was just he's like, okay, we'll give you a little taste of like, because many people hadn't heard of Moon Knight. Many people haven't even seen those hilarious fake comics that people make online, and so their only experience is, I know Oscar Isaac. Okay, sure, I'll watch this.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're just watching it, a jackal demon monster thing is an okay hook.
Okay.
Well, and also as far as like the zombie tomb dudes, I mean they were supposed to be like protectors
the mummy.
of. Yeah.
The reason I bring up the other monsters and not the mummy is because I actually like the mummy. I don't know the mummy's purpose either, but the mummy was cool and scary.
Well, those were protectors of that tomb.
The other monsters.
Yeah. Those had been summoned by Harrow to go get Steven.
Yeah, they were trying to get the scarab, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you asking like on plot role what their role was, like plot level, or
why you never saw them use
or like
it yet?
why in the writer's room they decided let's have a monster fight in this first episode?
Right, probably the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the plot, it's like, yeah, sure, they have a purpose, but it's like they're not here anymore. So why would we have them in the first place? Could have just had dudes,
Right.
like the rest of the time. But whatever, it's fine.
Like I do like how something I had mentioned a few weeks ago. When you do see this horrible monster and it's scary, oh no, and then the first time you see Moon Knight come out in the first episode, how it's trying to get away, I think that's a bigger splash for me than just dude trying to kill me, oh no, dude is scared now. Because you don't see evil jackal demons the size of a gorilla get scared.
Sure. Right, it'd have to be a group of dudes if you wanted that to play off the same, instead of just a dude.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they could have cast the mountain or something. But
Yeah, I mean, if you have the mountain and he's scared, then yeah.
Sure.
It makes sense. So, yeah, I didn't care for the inclusion of those CG monsters
That's fair.
specifically, but
Yeah.
Other than that, because my thing when I went into the show is I saw behind the scenes videos of him doing the fight choreography, and I was like, oh, this looks a lot like Daredevil. So in my mind, I was like, it's gonna have the flying and all that, but
he's
still
going to be beating
fairly,
up drug dealers and human traffickers.
fairly grounded, yeah, like Daredevil. But it wasn't, and it wasn't until the second to last episode that it really started to click, and I'm like, okay, I see what this is really about. It's not about that stuff.
No.
Which I think is
maybe
better.
they'll do in the future, but
we were talking about this before the show. We were saying we understand why they're doing just replace these heroes with just girls or just different people. Captain America is now Captain Falcon America, and Thor's getting a female Thor and all that, which is fine. But we'd rather see new powers.
Hold up. Oh, okay. I'm trying to listen to the stream and then it just cut off. It's loading.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
Yeah, no, well, I said we, but it's just me, maybe. But I'd rather see more powers and more diversity within their abilities and backgrounds and stuff. And, Moon Knight, I think it's a good thing it's not like Daredevil in every way. It still feels grounded, still pretty gritty.
Yeah.
And it's just got its own mythology twist with Egyptian stuff.
Funny enough, they both have a lot of similarities. You have somebody who has some kind of disability, who is religious, who has issues with their past, with their parents specifically, and they are hand-to-hand combat fighters, and they both work at night, and they both are kind of religious symbols. So they actually have a lot more in common, except for Moon Knight embraces the fantasy a lot more. So, any other final thoughts?
I look forward to seeing Moon Knight in future projects, even if it's not going to be a TV show.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
I seriously doubt that he's not going to be in anything again, unless, of course, Oscar Isaac does have the ball in his court and he doesn't want to do it, which, screw you.
Hey, I'll always be great season of great television.
Yeah, well, I don't know, it didn't finish up that well. It's kind of on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So I hope it's not finished.
Yeah, they didn't do a great job because they did resolve all the issues, but like one of my criticisms with the finale, I know we said we were transitioning, but I have to get this out there. The second to last episode ends on a real gut punch of Steven dying in the afterlife. He's been wiped from existence. He's been sentenced to oblivion. There's this statue in place of him. He is no longer there. Which, seeing as he was just this alternate identity, is like, it feels like a real death, but it can also be an interpretation for he has healed the trauma of this portion of his life. He can move on. There's no more reason for this extra identity to be there.
Yeah.
And then like the first scene of the next episode is like,
they hold
hey,
each other's
buddy,
hands.
You good? It's like, oh yeah, I'm totally alive again.
Yeah,
so,
that didn't make sense because they didn't explain that. Like they hold each other's hands, and they have the heart between them or something.
It was the power of friendship.
It made it so that their unbalanced soul was finally balanced because
but
they
fell
didn't
in the
view it
sand.
as two hearts.
But he was already freaking dead.
The way
this
I
dead
see
person
it,
died again.
the way I see it, it's a lot like the Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
He has that alternate personality buddy.
Right.
And he's supposed to be gone after the first one.
Yeah.
And then the second one, he shows up again just because they need him to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, if it's in the mind, in my opinion, the rules are, and I know a Nutty Professor, very good example, I know.
Yeah.
It's never gone. So
right.
I don't think his other personalities will ever truly be gone.
Well, I could see how that's true, but my problem with it is, actually,
and like
they all fell in the sand, right? But there was still a part of them that was still technically alive, and that was Jake.
Right.
And maybe this still doesn't explain how he brought him back.
I don't. Let me rephrase. I'm kind of where Stefan was with the Jackal Monster. I can buy it on a story level of it happening. Like I thought it was kind of bullcrap or whatever, but sure, okay, whatever. But the fact that it happened, like it was such a gut punch at the end of one episode, and then it's fixed at the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah.
Could we have not waited another like 10 minutes to do it?
Yeah, or sat on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like in Disney's Snow White. I get a lot of examples out of thin air. They at least sit on the idea that Snow White's dead for a long time.
They have a freaking funeral for her.
Yeah, they have a funeral. They have a little montage of words and everything else. It's like, wow, you feel the impact.
Right.
And then when the prince comes, it's a relief. Whereas I see where Jed's coming from, where it's less of a relief. It's like, oh, of course you did that.
Or like in Game of Thrones, they kill off so many characters, and like the one character they do ever bring back is Jon Snow. And I think they might have brought him back a little too soon, but they brought him back like 3 or 4 episodes later.
Right.
Not 5 minutes later.
Right when they needed him rather than, let's just do it because we can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, overall, I still like it. That was just my biggest complaint.
Yeah, I think we all like it. It's just, it's definitely better than the others. The others are varying in quality. There's like one really good episode I liked from Loki, and then Falcon Winter Soldier was a disaster.
All up and down.
WandaVision was something that's cool to watch once, and then after that you don't want to see it again. Hawkeye is just like C average, pretty good, watchable.
Yeah.
But this one was better. I'd say it's around B-ish. So. Yeah. On to the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
Now, how shall I begin this one?
I don't know.
So
it's a weird
initial thoughts that Brendan and Jed allegedly had, you guys can correct me, is that as you're sitting through it, Brendan's like, I don't know that I agree with the character development. And Jed's like, what character development? And Brendan said, I see we agreed then. So
that's basically how it went down.
Yeah, for me, what I agree with that, but what I do like is that it's a character exploration, not so much of them developing. Because Doctor Strange has just been, I think he's been great in all his films, but we sort of rushed and we've never looked and said, hey, buddy,
who is this guy?
Are you all right? What have you sacrificed? And this film manages to do those things and say, okay, what does he have to leave behind? What does he have to sacrifice? Then for Wanda, and it's kind of unfortunate that anyone has to watch WandaVision I think you could probably understand.
I don't think you have to, but you're not going to get the full weight if you didn't watch WandaVision.
Right, because just the idea of sleeping and you dream and you're like, oh, I have children and I know I can find them with this magical spell book.
Right.
But to
I guess
learn that
that's
she
like-
actually
Let's
spent
wait a
time
little
with
bit before going into certain spoilers for the film. We can talk about that later.
Yes.
But,
spoilers. So.
I will say,
Children.
kind of the way I was walking into this, I was not expecting a Marvel movie. I was expecting a Sam Raimi movie.
Mhm.
There's an interview of Sam Raimi that I've always loved where he was asked, like, hey, the Coen brothers, who are these incredible directors and are gifted in, making entertaining films and art. And, some of the greatest things, like anytime they make a movie, it's Oscars written all over. Not just in that, you think it's pretentious. No, they're not pretentious. They just are that good. And they helped work on Sam Raimi's very first movie when he was just like 22 or whatever, making Evil Dead. And he was asked in this interview, do you ever feel like sad or jealous or whatever that these people have gone on to have this illustrious, incredible career? And you're just making fun schlock? And he's like, no, I freaking love every time they make a new movie. They make great movies. As far as me, I just like making movies that are fun.
Yeah.
Like the first Evil Dead movie, they specifically something new and something over the top and something fun. And so watching a Sam Raimi movie, I'm always happy when there's good character development and solid writing and all that. But I never go into it expecting that. I go in there expecting violence, lots of funny moments, just overall fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some problems with the writing in this movie. Specifically, some of the dialogue is very stock, very standard superhero. But oh my gosh, I was grinning like an idiot. And I will say this: